Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Coming up in the news tonight, Minister Halkitis gives hope to Grand Bahamians. Police receive top honors, and Russia continues to bombard Ukraine. Welcome to our news weekend edition. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Megan Shepard. Topping news, the University of the Bahamas wrapping up day 3 of its Sustainable Grand Bahama webinar. Minister of Economic Affairs Michael Halkitis was the keynote speaker in today's final session. He says he is hopeful the magic of Grand Bahama can be reclaimed. Minister Halkitis says one of the most powerful things about Grand Bahama is its rich potential for diversification, noting that there are many industries that can be developed on that island.
Grand Bahama has been a prime location for industrial companies and the manufacturing sector. It has been targeted as a financial and technology center, a research center, a home for universities and academia, and a space for agricultural innovation. There always remains the possibilities within the tourism industry that we are starting to see investments in. And as I said, I'm not sure that any other island can lay claim to such an abundance of diverse opportunities. It is now up to us, the leaders in the public, and as well the leaders in the private sector, to turn these possibilities into a reality.
Now, the minister says the continued digitization of government processes for increased efficiency and effectiveness is at the top of this government's agenda.
This includes investments in digital communications and operational systems, as well as digital file management and the use of automation to speed up internal and outward-facing processes. Digitization also includes expanding access to government services and promoting greater transparency. One of the most promising digital innovations that we must leverage for mainstream use is our digital currency, the world's first central bank digital currency, the sand dollar. This will be a godsend to many who lack access to traditional financial and banking services, especially in our far-flung family islands that do not have proper access to banking services or may not even have a bank present on the island at all.
Halkitis says while diversifying the economy, diversification of opportunities beyond the current Nassau-centric development model is also key. He says that includes treating domestic and Bahamian investors with the same respect extended to foreign direct investors.
Expanded access to startup loans and grants, opportunities to build capital and receive other forms of support and incentives, and tax concessions must be on the table for our Bahamian investors as well. This administration has pledged to allocate hundreds of millions of dollars over the course of this 5-year term for the purpose of incentivizing local business growth, especially in the blue, green, and orange economies.
A man wearing a bulletproof vest was shot and killed in a police-involved shooting on Hospital Lane early this morning. Police say it was shortly after 1 a.m. when officers responded to an armed robbery on Delancey Street. While patrolling Hospital Lane North, they saw a man who aroused their suspicion. As officers approached the man, police say he produced a firearm. On response, officers produced their service weapons and discharged them in the direction of the suspect. He was struck several times about the body. Emergency medical services pronounced him dead. Now, police say they recovered the firearm from the suspect, and it was discovered that he was also wearing a bulletproof vest. Meantime, Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis's assessment that National Security Minister Wayne Munro's recent comments on a plea deal taken by a man who impregnated a schoolgirl does not warrant resignation from cabinet is not sitting well with opposition leader Michael Pintard.
It's most disappointing that the Prime Minister have not insisted at a minimum that the minister retract his statements and come to the public and apologize. His private conversations with the Prime Minister is irrelevant to us. They are acting in their own political interest.
Recently, a 40-year-old man who impregnated a 14-year-old girl was sentenced to 4 years in prison as a part of a plea deal after pleading guilty to 5 counts of unlawful sexual intercourse with the girl. Acting Director of Public Prosecutions, Franklin Williams, spoke of highly sexualized young people when asked by a reporter to comment on criticism that the 4-year sentence was too lenient. Monroe argued that having sex with a person under the age of consent is not rape, and said that he did not understand the controversy over the issue. Davis has since said sentencing for such crimes is only up to the judges and the courts and not for him or anyone else to comment on.
What they are not doing is several things. One, getting the minister to appreciate that he sent the wrong message to multiple constituencies. One, to minors, that the chief gatekeepers, that is persons in charge of law and order, are more sympathetic, or certainly comes across more sympathetic to the perpetrator than they do the victim. The second thing is he sends a wrong message to law enforcement. This is the time to increase our sensitivity to women, children who are being abused by sending the right message to any potential perpetrator.
Abaco was one of the hardest hit during the passage of monster storm Hurricane Dorian. 2.5 years later, the island continues to make strides toward rebuilding. Member of Parliament for North Abaco, Kirk Cornish, says while restoration efforts have been a bit slow, the groundwork is being done on that northern island. He says since coming into office, members of the Davis cabinet have been assessing the current state of the island and what it will take to bring complete restoration.
Urban renewal was on the ground already, and we're about to start the small home repair, which will go a long way because there are quite a number of homes that was damaged and that need minor repairs. However, there are quite a number of homes that need major repairs and even rebuilding new homes. And that would be addressed in our upcoming budget, the building of new homes. The DRA is on the ground. It did their assessment already. We are engaging entities to see if we can, re-engage entities to see if we can reestablish the work so that can get started.
Unfortunately, there are still many without the basics, including housing. In December 2020, the Free National Movement announced plans for a $1.8 million community center and hurricane shelter for the island. Cornish gave this update on the development.
There wasn't anything done on it recently. The person that was engaged was responsible for the hurricane shelter. They would have pulled out of the agreement, and we are now trying to re-engage them to see if we can get that process started again, that we may be able to reconstruct, at least start the construction on that again. And
as the summer months approach, the parliamentarian says they are hopeful for a strong tourism rebound.
I believe it's going to be exceptional considering where we are. Homeowners, second homeowners, the tourism industry in Abaco, it never went away. I recalled shortly after Dorian working at Water and Sewage, in the area of Treshki, I met about 3 or 4 tourists on bicycle and with collects in their hand, and said to me, we're here on vacation, and I'm asking them, where do you stay? Because this was like a few weeks after Dorian. So the tourism, it never went away, and Abaco is going to do well. We're going to be bigger and we're going to be better. And in this coming season, we have the heart of our second homeowners. We have the love for them, and it's going to be great. We're going to have the numbers. It might not be what we're used to, but it's going to be great.
More than 50 police officers on Grand Bahama were awarded for long service and outstanding performance on the force. For many senior officers, it was a career highlight and a thank you in a sometimes thankless job. Christina Dragovich speaks with some of the officers about what it means to them.
It means a lot to me. Being an officer that trains other officers, I see it fitting that today marks a culmination of all the hard work that I've been doing for the past 25 years.
Assistant Superintendent Randolph Delaveau has spent his professional career on the police force. His long service and commitment to the force has become a way of life.
It goes beyond just knocking on doors and speaking with persons in the community, but actually sitting and being motivated to them, growing kids up from the community and seeing that they grow up to be productive citizens in our country. I think that is forsaken sometimes. People overlook it.
With God and his family keeping him motivated, ASP Delaveau says last week's award ceremony was one of the proudest moments of his career.
Besides this one is seeing officers, that junior officers who just passed out of training, seeing them becoming police officers and knowing that I had a portion to play in those officers becoming what they are today, professionals serving the Bahamian public.
And he's not alone. Superintendent Ricardo Grant has been on the force for 24 years.
What motivates me is service, and service above self. And that's what the Royal Bahamas Police Force has always been about, service and service to our fellow men.
The officers recognize that the job they serve day in and day out is still so much more than the uniform. ASP Stephen Roll was awarded the Medal of Gallantry for his act of bravery during Hurricane Dorian in Abaco.
I think the public needs to know exactly what the officers are doing to keep them safe throughout the Bahamas.
This is the first time the award ceremony has taken place outside of New Providence. Reporting for our news, I'm Christina Dragovich.
Still to come on our news, a veteran journalist dies. Pintart says we can do more, and Russia continues to bombard Ukraine. That's coming up when our news returns.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Shamir.
Welcome back. The Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas announcing the death of a broadcast pioneer, Elva Russell Roll. Russell Roll began her career at ZNS in 1969 as a summer apprentice. After obtaining her associate's degree in communication, she secured a permanent position, and as they say, the rest is history. Russell Roll hosted radio shifts, produced a number of programs for the corporation, and was a part of the evening news team, reading international news and the weather report. She has been credited with mentoring and coaching many of today's young professional women in the field of broadcasting, and will forever be etched in the fraternity of broadcasting in the Bahamas, particularly at the BCB. On behalf of all of us here at Our News, we extend condolences to her family and our colleagues at the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas on the passing of this Bahamian broadcast giant. Meantime, opposition leader and Marco City MP Michael Pintard also weighing in on the impasse between the government and this group of business owners on Grand Bahama. He admits both governments, including the one he served in, should have done more to help jumpstart the economy there. He believes it all comes down to better collaboration.
We have not had the kind of collaboration between central government, the Grand Bahama Port Authority, local government, and other stakeholders, including the business community, the industrials. We have not pulled all of the stakeholders together. And in my view, the primary responsibility for doing that is central government. The secondary responsibility is the Grand Bahama Port Authority. So both of those entities have to be bullish in terms of talking with each other on a consistent basis.
A group of Grand Bahama business owners and residents turning down a scheduled meeting with the government earlier this week. The no-show came after the group was notified in writing that the Grand Bahama Port Authority would not be in attendance. Group spokesperson Darren Cooper insists that if the port isn't at a meeting with the government, the group won't show up.
They also state in their letter that they are prepared and they are willing to meet with all relevant stakeholders. The Grand Bahama Port Authority plays a major role in the growth and the development of Grand Bahama, and so we need them at the table. For so long, we as residents have been getting the passing of the buck. Who's responsible for this? Who's not responsible for this? And so we thought it was fitting to be able to bring both of them into that one room and to be able to have the dialogue and to make sure that we clarify the necessary issues to be able to grow Grand Bahama again. And so the residents and business owners of Grand Bahama will not accept the meeting with the minister if the Grand Bahama Port Authority is not allowed to be in that session.
Now, the group has been pressing the government for answers on many issues they feel are stifling growth. According to a letter in their possession, members of the group say the port appears to be willing to meet, leaving them to question the government's motives.
We now, as the residents, are asking the government why you don't see the need to want to meet with the people and the city managers to be able to put to rest many of the questions that we have here in Grand Bahama. It's like we've for so long been hearing the passing of the buck. The port say, it ain't us. Government say, well, it ain't us. And then we hear good talks in the media, oh, we're working in high-level conversation. Who are you having the conversation with? Because if the port needs to meet with you, that means there's no discussion going on.
According to a statement issued by the Ministry for Grand Bahama, the government is always willing to meet with any group of individuals with concerns. This, the statement continued, is no time for politics and grandstanding. Well, it is Purpose Awareness Month, and this year's event organizers are expecting things to be bigger and better. Bethany McDermott tells us more in this feature.
With the aim of helping people find their purpose and release their inner greatness, organizers of Purpose Awareness Month are inviting all Bahamians to be a part of the host of events. According to Purpose Awareness CEO and founder Antonia Lightburn, organizers are focused on providing the tools and resources necessary for the discovery of and execution of purpose.
We want to spark that question, why am I here? Because all of us, there is a void in the earth that only we can fill. There is a place just for us. We are the solution to a problem in the earth. And there are people actually depending on you to discover that purpose. And so imagine that there are people just waiting on you to discover. And there's a step beyond discovery, and that's called execution. I find it, and then I fulfill it. And so that is what we want to see happen.
This year's theme is Beyond Endless Possibilities. Purpose Awareness started back in 2016 with a week of events and has evolved to a full month of awareness activities. As this will be the first month of in-person events since the start of the pandemic, Vice President Janiqua Ambrista says this year will be different.
Our theme for this year is actually something different. We want to inspire others to go beyond the shore, like to take the step to go for more. We want people to go beyond the biggest dream that you have, the biggest dream that you can imagine. There is more than that.
If you're interested in being a part of one of the events, Lightburn explains what you can expect.
We have our Make Me Coral campaign that's about to launch on April 10th, and that is for all makeup artists to get on board. And you're creating a coral look. You just beat your face and put some coral shadows, and then you tag Purpose Awareness, and all of this is in support of Purpose Awareness Month to help to get the message out there. We have Purpose Pow sessions. We have one session with Ricardo Clark talking about endless possibilities, and then we have one with Keishel Davis talking about on the other side of fear. And I think that is so important because there are so many persons literally just not doing things simply because they are afraid.
There's also the Teens in Purpose event and Coral Table Talk hosted by Jillian Gray. This year, organizers have partnered with Innocence to produce candles that can be purchased from any of their social media pages. As for National Purpose Awareness Month,
it's April 29th. We want everyone to wear their coral.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Now, we warn that some of these images are a little graphic. At least 39 people were killed and 87 wounded on Friday when 2 rockets hit a railway station in eastern Ukraine packed with evacuees, Ukrainian authorities said. Pavlo Kyrylenko, governor of the Donetsk region, said thousands of civilians had been at the station at the time the rocket struck, in what he described as a deliberate attack. Many of the wounded were in serious condition. Video of the aftermath showed piles of suitcases and other belongings scattered on the floor outside of the station. A stuffed toy horse was seen on the ground smeared with blood. A live rabbit stayed in its cage. The Russian Defense Ministry was quoted by RIA News Agency as saying the missiles said to have struck the station were used only by Ukraine's military and that Russia's armed forces had no targets assigned in Kramatorsk on Friday. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said no Ukrainian troops were at the station. Images of dead civilians lining the streets of Bucha have shocked the world in recent days and heightened concerns that Russian soldiers are committing war crimes in Ukraine. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen visited mass graves in Bucha recently, and this is what she had to say.
The unthinkable has happened here. We have seen the cruel face of Putin's army. We have seen the recklessness and the cold-heartedness with which they have been occupying the city. Here in Bucha we saw our humanity being shattered, and the whole world is mourning with the people of Bucha.
In such tragedy, we can only wish Godspeed for the people of Ukraine. When our news comes back from the break, we will have a sit-down with a lawyer turned fashionista. The subject, the crafting of earrings. And to get a taste of the steel pan, our Jean Joseph has the details when our news weekend edition returns.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Shamik.
The pandemic proving to be a blessing in disguise for another entrepreneur. Sophia Papa George says since transitioning to virtual meetings, she realized the tiny boxes did her outfits no justice.
I found myself doing a lot of Zoom calls, and I found that my outfits weren't really coming through the Zoom calls because only from here up shows. So I thought about ways to make my outfit a little bit more interesting. So I got into earrings.
Papa George says she found that many people were making clay earrings internationally. That's when she began to research and experiment. Now she says she creates a collection every 4 to 6 weeks.
The inspiration is a little bit of novelty based on what's going on at the time, and also the colors of that particular season. So I started off with Valentine's Day, so that was a lot of pink and red, some black and white for the anti-Valentine's Day people. And then I moved on now to more spring tones. And then eventually my next collection will be more of the earthy summer tones.
She shares the process of creating a collection.
Each collection takes about 3 weeks to make. So you start off with the designing process, and I make a few prototypes, and then I bug all of my friends and family to tell me which ones they like and which ones they don't like. And then I try out different colors, and then I make the pieces, I roll out the clay, I bake everything, and then the next week will be sanding and drilling, and then the final week will be assembling and photographing.
Papa George shares the greatest part of creating the unique pieces.
The greatest thing about starting the business is obviously seeing how happy a small pair of earrings can make someone. I think during this time, we needed something to make us all excited, especially since we couldn't necessarily leave our homes. We couldn't go out as much as we would. And I just found, sitting at home and putting on a pair of earrings, even though I had pajamas, really changed my mood and my outlook for the day, and just made me happy. And I know from speaking to a lot of my customers, that was the same for them.
And her advice to other inspiring entrepreneurs.
Start small, because sometimes things you think will sell or will take off won't necessarily be your best sellers, but things you took a chance on may actually end up doing better than you initially thought. So I think that until you really establish yourself, I think starting small and more of a cautious approach rather than a bigger approach is the way to go.
The Curbside Rockers kept themselves busy doing pop-up performances at food stores and other locations throughout the pandemic. As the world returns to normal, that band has translated those performances into consistent work and shows at home and abroad. Our Jean Joseph spoke with the band members, who explained their love for the Bahamian public and their plans to release new music for their fans.
I'm Leo.
I'm Vince.
And I'm James. And we
are
the Curbside
Rockers.
The sounds of the piano, steel pan, and saw may seem odd, but this unique combination is the signature sound of the Curbside Rockers, one of Nassau's most sought-after bands. Band members Leo, the pianist, Vince, who plays steel pan and percussion, and James, who plays the saw, have taken the island by storm, fusing the island's sound with popular music.
We just play songs with have a nice vibe, like whatever we hear around town, got a nice jumping vibe. We make it a little bit faster, and that's it. But we play to the crowd, so
definitely,
depending on how the crowd looks, we know which song to play next.
Though the band members had years of experience on their own, the pandemic forced this diamond to form under pressure. As lockdowns and restrictions affected their incomes, they had to find creative ways to make ends meet, performing wherever and whenever they could.
Well, with the Curbside Rockers, we came from the food store. From the pandemic time, you know, the Bahamian people created us. They made sure that we were straight when we was playing for those tips, and they made every day a good day while things was rough for us. So we always got to give thanks to the Bahamian people.
Now they are highly sought after and grace stages at many resorts and high-end locations, with dates on other Bahamian islands and the U.S. on their calendar.
We play all over town, you know.
Travelers
Rest, Bahama, Atlantis, Sandals, Sapodilla, list goes on, you know. Sky's the limit.
But while the band has made a name for itself playing covers of popular songs, they say that they have some things in store for their fans.
It's been pretty good. We're just trying to figure out how to make things better, and we want to bring out an album with our original songs so that way we could throw our own concerts. You know, we're trying to go all the way to the top. We started playing other people's songs. We want to end off playing our own songs.
And here's a little something to rock to, courtesy of the Curbside Rockers. Enjoy.
Still to come, next week is Holy Week. We are going to give you the details on Palm Sunday. And a chill is in the air, but for how long? Weather is queued up just for you. That's coming up when our news returns.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Shamik.
Welcome back. Don't put away those blankets just yet. This will be the last cold front for the season. Let's take a look at our weather report. Holy Week is often described as a time of devotion to the Passion of Jesus Christ in the Christian Church. It begins on Palm Sunday and ends with Easter Sunday, sometimes known as Resurrection Sunday. Palm Sunday will be observed throughout the country tomorrow in many churches. We caught up with the senior pastor at Kemp Road Ministries, Reverend Dr. Ivan Ford Butler Jr., who spoke to us on the importance of Palm Sunday, explaining that the day was the day when Jesus rode into Jerusalem.
We know that they spread their garments in the way. We also know that they spread palms in the way. And we know that they gave praises to him as he rode through Jerusalem. They were hoping that Jesus would really become their leader. But Jesus really was not about anything that was earthly. It was really about heavenly.
Reverend Butler added that what happened on Palm Sunday back in Jesus' time should be replicated today.
Today, we really should have the same passion that they had during that particular time. When they spread their garments and when they spread palms along the way and they were celebrating Jesus. We should celebrate him with the same passion, the same fervor, and the same enthusiasm, and also with great excitement.
We thank you so much for joining us for our News Weekend edition. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Megan Shepherd. Have a safe and wonderful weekend.